panic. It is definitely me. Bit of a drastic haircut, I know. I haven't joined any band organisations or anything like that, don't worry. Just had to go pretty short just to help treat a little bit of a skin condition I had on my head. It seems to be working already, so that's the reason for the number 0 all over. But more importantly, in this video I'm going to talk about, for me, I think we all have a certain behavioural problem or training problem that absolutely incenses us, really winds us up. And for me, it's always been lead biting. So in this video, I'm just going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to stop it. So in an ideal world, what do we want? For me, we want a dog walking with a loose lead on a collar. I'm not the biggest fan of harnesses being used full time, but they do have a place, which I'll go on to very shortly. Now, lead biting, I don't think it takes much descriptive really. It's when a dog bites the lead when you're walking. There's lots of different videos out there. People talk about, distracting the dog and things like that. Blah, blah, blah. The problem you have with it is that it can become a game you can become involved in, effectively a game of tug of war with your dog, particularly if you're using a lead made from material or rope. You think about it, a nylon lead is pretty much made from the same stuff, it's the same shape, texture, etc. as dog leads, or a lot of the dog leads you can buy. So the first thing that I would recommend, if you've got a dog that is, it's generally puppies that do it, but yeah, if you've got a dog that is biting the lead when you're walking, the first thing I would do is I would invest in a metal lead. Both my dogs walk on metal leads. Sasha the Rottie, absolute nightmare for lead biting, absolute nightmare. There used to be days when it would take me 5 minutes to get the 50 metres from my house down to the green to then go out into the countryside, and it should take 10 seconds to walk that distance, maybe a bit longer. So yeah, metal lead. I mean, would you want to chew on a piece of metal? Probably not. Stick some tin foil in your mouth, you'll enjoy that. Don't do that. Obviously, you need to size the lead to your dog. If you've got a Chihuahua puppy that's doing it, don't go and get yourself a great big thick heavy one. And conversely, if you've got a Great Dane puppy that's doing it, don't go and get a really thin one. I'm sure you'll be able to work out roughly which one that you need. You need to make sure that the puppy can't get their teeth in between the links, because they probably are going to try and bite it initially. And what we don't want a tooth getting caught and then snapping or being damaged. So if you've got a very small dog, get a lead that has very tightly bound together small links, which you're probably more likely to have anyway for that dog, because it's going to be a smaller metal lead. And obviously the bigger the dog, the bigger the teeth, the bigger the loops, bigger the links can be in the chain, and that would be the natural thing to do anyway, because you're going to need a bigger chain to control them. So metal lead is the first thing I'd recommend, because as I said, it's just not very pleasant, it's not very nice for them, and I find that fairly effective. Sometimes though, we need to maybe temporarily do things that we don't want to be ultimately the end game, but it can help us. So for example, with Sasha, my dog, and actually just recently this weekend with a a dog that I'm working with at the moment. He was really badly biting the lead. So what we had to do was we had to take a little bit of a step back and think, right, how are we going to rectify this issue? So I would recommend a harness from Halti. Now, we don't want this to be a permanent thing when you're walking the dog, but I used one and I've recommended it to a client. I'll ask them if they mind me using a video they sent me of that very evening, walking the dog on it with a metal lead. Now obviously with a harness, the loop is in the centre of the dog's back, so generally they can't get round to bite the lead. Now my thought and theory on that is if we use it temporarily for a short while, and I like the Halti no pull harness, not to be confused with a face harness or anything like that. It is a body harness. I like the Halti one because it can help you stop a little bit of pulling as well. But like I've said before about anything, we don't want to put plasters over wounds. What we want to do is we want to train the dog to behave how we want it to. So eventually we want to get that loose lead collar walking. But it could be really unenjoyable walking a dog that is doing nothing but turning around and trying to play tug of war on the lead. So metal lead, and as a temporary thing, just to get the dog associating their walks with, so if the metal lead fails, which generally it doesn't because it's not nice to chew on a metal lead, if it does, look at a harness like the Halti one. It's very thin, it's not going to get them used to wearing a big thick harness, and they can't get to the lead. And although we're not effectively teaching them not to bite the lead because they shouldn't, we're not letting them, they can't bite the lead, so they're not doing it because they can't. We want to start associating the walk with them not doing it. So even if you just use it for 3 or 4 weeks, then we can start to improve the walking to heel, the nice walking. And if they're suddenly going out on lots of walks and they're not getting involved in tug of war with their lead, eventually they're not going to seek to do that. Now, generally, just waiting for this plane to go past. What horrendous timing that was. Generally, they will grow out of lead biting. It tends to be more of a puppy behaviour. So don't panic. If your dog's doing it, try and keep them on the collar with a metal lead. Generally that's okay, as I said earlier, and can resolve the problem. If it doesn't, look to invest in a thin harness temporarily to get them associating their walks with not playing this silly game. Let them grow up a little bit, a few weeks, go back to the lead and collar, see how you get on. Hope you found it helpful. See you at the next one.